Dear children of ninth standard, welcome to the third class of English. Today you are going to learn a very interesting chapter, The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. Before we start the chapter, I would like to ask you some questions. What kind of school would you want to have in future? I repeat, what kind of school would you want to have in the future? And how much will the computer be involved in the future education? Will you feel more happy in a more developed high-tech society? Why or why not? Children, think about this. When we go back to school, when you come back to school, I'm going to ask you the answer to these questions. Children, let's go to the chapter. The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov was a writer who was born on 2nd January 1920. He died on 6th April 1992. Let me introduce you to the characters of this chapter. Margie, there is a girl named Margie who's an 11 years old girl who hates school, who really hates school. And Tommy is a 13 years old boy. And Mrs. Jones, who's Margie's mother and mechanical teacher, he teaches Margie and Tommy. He teaches them different subject and he works on the TV screen. One day, Margie writes her diary. Margie even wrote about the book in her diary. Now, when she starts her diary, the page headed with 17th May 2157 she wrote. That means we are now in 2020 and the setting of the chapter, the time is set in 2157. Now she wrote, today Tommy found a real book. A real book? It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him about a time all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages. These were wrinkled and yellow. The words stood still. They did not move on the screen as they do now. And now Tommy called this book a waste. And then when they read the book that they study, they threw it away. Now their TV screen must have been very big to have many books. So once they finished their book, they used to throw the books away. So it was same for Margie. They don't have the book like we have right now. The book that you are studying right now, their book are telebooks. So it was same for Margie as well, though she had not seen many telebooks because she was young. And Margie, she really hated school. She was 11 years old, as you know, and Tommy was 13. Now, Margie asked Tommy where he found that old book. And Tommy replied that he found that in his house. She asked what it was all about. And Tommy replied that it was about school. Margie exclaimed, "School? What was there to write about school?" Because she hated school. She always hated school, but now she hated it more. Why? Because her mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography. She had been doing worse and worse. At last, her mother sent for the county inspector. Now, her mother asked for the county inspector. The inspector was a round little man. He had red face and box of tools, dials, and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. He took the TV teacher away. Margie hoped he wouldn't know how to set it right again. But after 1 hour, it was brought again before her, and its big screen lessons were shown and questions on it. And she hated it. Margie hated her slot in which she had to put her homework. She had to write them in a punch code she had been learning since she was 6 years old. Now the inspector smiled and patted Margie's head. He told Margie's mother that it was not Margie's fault. The geography sector was geared a little too quick. He had slowed that to an average 10-year level. Margie's progress had been quite satisfactory. Then he went away. Now, Margie's wish about her television teacher, Margie hoped that they would take her mechanical teacher away. They had done so to Tommy's for nearly a month. The history sector of Tommy had blanked out. Margie said to Tommy why anyone would write about school. Margie's wish about her TV teacher. Margie hoped that they would take her mechanical teacher away. They had done so to Margie's for nearly a month. The history sector of Tommy had blanked out. Margie said to Tommy why anyone would write about school. Now Tommy tells her about old schools. Tommy told her that it was not their kind of school. That was a kind of old schools which they had there hundreds and hundreds years ago. Margie's knowledge about old schools was very less, and she doesn't know about these schools. And she read the book over Tommy's shoulder. She then said that they had had a teacher anyway. Tommy replied that it wasn't a regular teacher, it was a man. Students in those schools, they are boys and girls, and sitting in the same class. The teacher asked them questions, and they answer together, and they answer individually. And Margie told Tommy that man could not be smart enough, but Tommy said he was so. Margie was not prepared for this argument. She said she won't want a strange man to live in her house and teach her. Tommy told Margie that the teachers did not live in the house as the mechanical teachers lived. They had a special building. All the kids went there. They learned the same thing. Also, they were of the same age group. Now, but Margie said that as per her mother, a teacher had to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it taught. So each kid had to be taught differently. Now Margie put her work slot with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools. They had them with when her grandfathers and grandfather was a kid. All the kids from the neighborhood came laughing and shouting in the schoolyard. They sat together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so that they could help one another in their homework. And the teachers were human beings. So Margie kept on thinking about that, and the mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. She could not concentrate on her lesson. Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved the school in the old days, she was thinking about the fun they must be having and the fun they had. So, children, that is the lesson for today. The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. Let me ask you some questions. How old are Margie and Tommy? How old are Margie and Tommy? Margie is 11 years old and Tommy is 13 years old. What did Margie write in her diary? Margie wrote in her diary 17 May 2157, Tommy found a real book. What things about the books did she find strange? What things about the book did she find strange? The book had yellow and wrinkled pages. The words of the book were not moving on the computer screen. She found these things strange. So that's your today's lesson. Thank you, children. See you tomorrow, same time.